to go outside and play. And teens, the most important thing in their lives is their peer group.
Yeah.
And so, this is impact. It's hard to say, no, you can't go over to uh, Mary's house because you're not sure who all Mary's family has been exposed to,
Right.
and so it's hard from a social perspective on all of us, but especially our kids and our younger kids and our teenagers. um I One of the things that I felt it was really important to talk about the impact of trauma on all of us, because if we take a moment and we kind of self-evaluate or think about our families and what our families are maybe going through or how they're coping with this pandemic, you may have seen some of those signs and symptoms in them. And this is giving information regarding, they're okay. They're just trying to adjust to this abnormal situation that all of us are having to deal with. I tell families that on the other side of every crisis, there is an opportunity. And then we look, as bad as things are, there is an opportunity to kind of regroup. There's an opportunity to get to know the people in your house.
Yeah.
Often we are so busy, caught up in the things that we have to do. Our kids go to school, we're off to work, and there's not a lot of time for quality family time. This has forced us to really, in a whole new way, get in touch with the people who live in our house. Get in touch with what might be their gifts or their talents. And, while we're sheltering in place, be able to have a conversation with members in our families and learn a little bit more about them. I've talked with some people who are one of the ways that they're coping through this as a family and utilizing some of the time that they have is they're doing projects together. um when I was a kid, it was a big thing to put puzzles together,
Yeah.
and the puzzles kind of have gone by the wayside. But I have some friends now who their family are coming together and they're putting together puzzles. you know it's a great way for people to just kind of gather and work on something and produce something, at the end of this, a nice little masterpiece that you would say, this is what we did. um Another suggestion of ways you can connect with your family, what has made a big comeback now is coloring. you know
Mm-hmm.
I personally find, I bought myself a couple of coloring books. It's very relaxing. And I was sharing with a client who had some concerns about, her kids. She's trying to work and, trying to get her kids situated so that she's squared away with school. And then what do we do? How do I keep her occupied while I take this conference call here? And so I suggested, get her a coloring book. And she likes to color, and that's something that the child can do independently, or you can color with them. Some people are doing jewelry making. Some people come up with new home-based businesses to start during this period
Right.
of time. I have a client who she's in seventh grade, and she and her mom have gone into the mask making business.
Yes, 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 yes. Mask making has become quite a lucrative industry at the moment.
Oh yes. I was talking with her the other day, and she's made about 10 different masks right now for family members. But I said, you may have started your own, little business going forward. I mean, people are becoming gourmet cooks during this time. So, there's in the midst of this crisis, there's an opportunity to kind of grow together. One of the things I like to say that is forcing us to do is to really get in touch with the importance of relationships. Our relationships with our friends, our relationship with one another, our relationship with God. you
Yeah.
know and it's that is, as I might have shared with you, I am a Christian therapist. And so one of the things that helps us to get through any kind of crisis is connecting with a support system,
Right.
you know, or linking into that philosophical base that keeps us anchored, that allows us to have a belief that we're going to get through this and that we're not alone as we go through this process. And so, I think that as we're going through all of this, what we have to also do is be mindful of taking care of ourselves.
Selves.
Right. When we are, stress is like the number one killer and the culprit of many diseases. And so, it's important to just kind of take time, exhale some of this out, um, allow ourselves to really begin to take care of ourselves by exercising. I spoke about the importance of a routine,
Yeah.
and routine is very important to help us to begin to kind of normalize and stabilize our lives.
Mhm.
Since we've all been home, routines have kind of gone by the wayside. As if some parents say, well, my kid is sleeping till noon now, or now that school is the online again, it kind of helps to start that routine again. But the advantages of a routine, as I said before, it allows us to not only stabilize but have some sense of predictability. What time you're getting up, what time are you going to bed. It's great during this period of time to sit down with our kids and check in with them about how they are handling this pandemic. Oftentimes, when we're involved in a crisis and everybody is just trying to absorb what is happening, we're in shock, we're just kind of getting through. And a lot of times we don't check in with our kids in terms of how they're managing
Mhm.
this crisis. What do they think? Reassuring them, and it's really important that we reassure our kids that we're going to get through this.
Yeah.
We can talk to them in ways that they will understand. Um, they're all familiar with having had a flu or a cold or the pink eye or something where you kind of have to distance yourself. Well, of course, we realize this is a whole lot worse. But until, when we want to help kids not feel as anxious, we can let them know that, we have the best and the brightest people working on this. And we're going to get through this. They're going to figure out what a vaccine, or something that is going to allow us to begin to feel a sense of we can treat whatever this is. And so it's great to take a time to sit down and figure out, a good time where you can sit and check in with how your kids are doing through this. Sometimes what happens in a crisis, and we're hearing a lot about this, especially in Prince George's County, we have been the hardest hit with this virus.
Really?
Yes, Prince George's County, and there is a correlation between the impact of the virus in African Americans, people of color. And we tend to have more underlying health issues. And so there's that comorbidity piece that is impacting us in detrimental ways. And so Prince George's County, I know in the zip code that I live in is, which is 20706, has been identified as one of the hardest hit. And so many people that we may know of now, and that's when it becomes really real, when people that you know of have loved ones or family members who have been affected by the virus or has lost loved ones. It raises our anxiety level even more. But the piece about children and sitting down and explaining to them in a way that hopefully will lessen their anxiety after we've worked through our own anxiety, and reassuring them that if you believe in that this is not all that there is, that you know sometimes people transition and they pass on, but they get sick, but we'll see them again, or
Yeah.
however it is that we want to explain loss to our kids. But we are all kind of going through this together, and it's important as we go through it together that we check in and make sure that our kids are um, emotionally okay as well.
So,
Yeah.
Gail, just as a reminder to our audience who may be seeing this,
Hmm.
first of all, this is Grace Walker, social media coordinator with Cafe or
Hmm.
Cultural Academy for Excellence. And my guest today is Gail Jackson, licensed clinical social worker, who has kindly allowed us to take her time today for her to share with our audience how we we can help families cope during this crisis.
Right.
So Gail has we are doing this with in a pilot effort. So we've had some technical challenges along the way. So you may
Right.
see that on either my page or on Cultural Academy for Excellence. But please, again, if you have any comments that you'd like to share or questions that you'd like to ask Gail with regard to helping families cope in crisis, in this crisis in particular, please feel free to share it in the comments. So Gail, do please continue.
Yeah, I was just talking about some of the ways, some of the things that we can do to take care of ourselves in the midst of this crisis. We have to make sure that we of rest, and that's our body needs rest. We need to drink plenty of water, exercise is a great stress reliever. And I know that we may not be able to go to the gym but if you do have exercise equipment at home, or just walk, you and your kids go for a walk, in the block. Exercise is a great way to reduce stress.
Yeah.
If you're feeling anxious, you want to stick away from some of the caffeine. Reassure yourself, and it's important that we're having the ability to communicate in all different kinds of ways now, but that we reach out and touch loved ones in a different kind of way, whether it's through FaceTime or Zoom or whatever. We're hearing all about Zoom parties and get-togethers, and I know for myself, my choir members, we're when you're in an organization, as like with Cafe, and you're coming together a couple of times a week, and then all of a sudden you're not able to gather anymore. And so you miss those faces, you miss talking to one another. And so Zoom has been a way to reconnect, and it's important that we do that.
Yeah.
Important to anchor into that spiritual part of ourselves that allows us to hold on and believe that God is with us and we're going to get through this. And if you meditate, or I just finished doing a blog talking about, if you feel anxious, pause, take a deep breath, and release it in a prayer. Release that anxiety, release
So
that
are you going
fear.
to be able to share that blog with us? And
It
so that
is,
those, okay.
yes. If you go to my webpage is www.inspirations with an S, inspirationsbygail.com, or if you Google inspirational things by Gail and go to the blog, I
Gail, correct?
Gail, yes.
Okay.
And Inspirational Things by Gail. And then go to the blog. I talk about, ways in which we can, instead of, well, it's human to feel anxiety. We all feel anxious when things happen and we're out of control. But what we can do in the midst of whatever that crisis is, what we can do to take care of ourselves. And part of it is to just stop, take a deep breath, and just kind of breathe it out, just let it go, and allow ourselves to just reflect upon the fact that we have, maybe not as a global pandemic, and we haven't been through that kind of crisis, but we've all had, or many of us have had, crises in our lives, and reflect upon how we got through those, and we take things one day at a time. We get overwhelmed when we look at the big picture, but as I've mentioned, I am a Christian therapist, so I kind of base a lot of my root is based upon the tenets and principles from a biblical perspective. And, as I said, Jesus told us, give us this day our daily bread, and so one day at a time, when we're feeling overwhelmed, that's how we need to look, not big picture, because so much of the big picture is nobody really knows at this point. But, we be grateful for each day, one day at a time. Gratitude is a wonderful way of just shifting our focus from our anxious thoughts, to being grateful about what it is that has happened in our lives, or happened yesterday, or the fact that we do have family that's together, and a roof over our head, and something to eat. And when we can allow ourselves to shift our focus to how God is providing each and every day, one day at a time, it helps to reduce some of the anxiety that we feel about what's going to happen. We're not in control, but we know the one who is in control. Yeah.
Terrific. Well, Gail, I want to say thank you, because I can't tell you how much I appreciate that we were able to first coordinate this, and that you were so flexible to allow me to introduce you to Facebook Live. It as you said, we have now become participants in what is a virtual reality.
Right.
We no longer can, be together as humans would normally want to do.
Right.
And so we're experiencing this new virtual connectedness. And so to facilitate this and to start off this exchange on behalf of Cultural Academy for Excellence, I want to say thank you on behalf of the organization, more so in particular, thank you on behalf of our very visionary leader, Lorna Green, who basically insisted and insisted in with the passion that she brings to all of what she does, that we
Yes.
continue to engage our audiences, and
Right.
that we use this platform as a means of making sure our communications with our audience for Cultural Academy for Excellence helps them to get through this, and helps us all to get through it. So again, I want to thank you for taking the time. I want to tell you how much I appreciate that you shared so much information. I'm going to put this on the cafe website,
Okay.
which is www.cafeyouth.org. I would put that in my comments to let our audience know. And that because of this particular time also, where in our particular community, cafe community in Mount Rainier, Maryland, we are treating a lot of at risk in terms of communities that need our support. So on our website, we are asking for both donations of dry goods, as well as, if in lieu of that, also to make donations which can support our community. And you'll see that information on the website at www.cafeyouth.org. So Gail, with that, I want to say thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Welcome. My pleasure. My
And
pleasure.
I'm looking,
Cafe.
and I do have a link to send to you with our recent cafe performance and invitation to St. Augustine's. We had such a extraordinary time. So
St. Augustine's talked about cafe for weeks after after the
um,
performance.
and the kids would definitely appreciate that. We
Right,
can't again do this right now in that experience. So for it to have happened recently, before this separation of uh, persons occurred,
right,
was so welcome. So
right.
with all my thanks and appreciation, Gail Jackson, thank you for being my inaugural guest
My pleasure.
and helping me to launch this on our Facebook platform. So have a great afternoon. And
Okay,
I'll follow up with, if we have to, we will post this once I do the video edit on our
okay,
website, and share any documents that you'd like to have shared and links that you have
sure,
that you'd like us to
sure.
share.
Right.
So
I think I sent you, and that's would be, I'm glad you said that. A sheet that had, if you, when families want to sit down and talk with their kids, they can list things that they're worried about and
yes,
then talk about solutions to that, to
great.
bust
Yeah,
that
so
thing.
we'll make part of our resources on our
Mhm.
website. So when you go, and we will install the series of videos, because we have other videos that will be coming up. We're looking forward to talk uh, with Dr. Davidson, Dr. Jared Davidson, who is our dentist in the community, on health, on dental health during COVID. And we have other participants, again, who have been part of the CAFE family, and leadership, and bringing their expertise to our audience. So Gail, thank you again. Have a great
You are so
afternoon.
welcome. My
Have a
pleasure.
great
You take
afternoon.
care.
Thank you.
You too. All right. Bye
Okay,
bye.
bye-bye.